Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? I'm Enrique, and this is a quick announcement before the video. I'm gonna try to make it as fast as I can. Basically, what it is I actually guest started on another YouTube channel very recently. The video's up. The way it works is I was supposed to critique their artwork. The artwork, it ranged from bad to disturbingly bad, and I was told I could say whatever I wanted, and I was pretty harsh. I was actually really harsh. I think the video came out really funny. I thought it was hilarious. I'm actually in both parts. Check it out. Click on the screen over here. Also, I will let you know that if you click on these links, that they're just going to open a second vid window, and then it won't interrupt this video. So you can just come right back. That's why I put it before. Go over there to the channel, like the video, and I also want you to subscribe to that channel and say that I sent you. Okay? Say that Easy Things to Draw sent you. I got great people that follow this page, and I want them to see that. So see you later, guys. Okay, so let's start on this. Kind of flip through the page. This is actually the first. This is actually the first one of these I'm going to do, and I'm going to actually talk my way entirely through it. But this is going to be entirely in real time. So let me know if you like this format or not. Let me know if you like this change or not. Do you want this real time or do you want it sped up? It's going to be in a half an hour video. So just be prepared for that. It's going to be half an hour of watching me kind of go through this process. So right now I'm kind of ghosting in the image, and I'm like, okay, what am I thinking? You know, what am I doing? What am I thinking? I'm always thinking of something with teeth. That's the way I am. I'm always thinking of something like some kind of monstrous thing. Like I said, to ghost stuff in. You have your tendencies. Be careful about that. I'm actually not even using the right pen this time. This time I'm using basically a free pen I got, a free ballpoint pen I got somewhere else, down at the store, and I am just kind of cutting into that. Already know I want something like T-Rex like. That is in my mind because I actually just saw a T-Rex documentary. Again, I kind of went over this before, but I'm actually really going over, you know, when I draw these things, I tend to draw things I've seen lately. You know, like if there's a movie I've seen lately, if something pops in my mind, I'll kind of have it. But I also am kind of thinking of I want a screwed up version of a T-Rex as well. So, you know, I'm kind of drawing that in slowly. I think I want to talk a little bit about the value of kind of watching these things from different artists. I watch a lot of artists do, a lot of tutorials, and the ones that are totally real time like this. The benefit I get from it is more about how how they're kind of holding the pen, their brush stroke, whatever, pen stroke. Uh, the way that is, it's almost a subconscious thing. You see the exact speed he's taking. One of the coolest things I ever saw was one of my favorite artists. Cannot remember his name though. I know it's Evan something. I know what you mean. I know what you're thinking though. You're thinking if he's my favorite, how come I don't remember his name? But something that really pops out would be the one of the things that shocked me about him is how kind of precise he is. You know, he'll just kind of take his time and do his thing, and I'm like, wow, this guy took as long as I did, because I was under the impression that doing certain things would just take longer. Doing the things he did would take me longer, or would just be humanly impossible to do in a certain time limit. So kind of watching him do that is very refreshing to me, and I was hoping to have maybe that effect on some people here by kind of putting entire reels of stuff. The only place I've ever really seen that would be Gumroad. Those Gumroad videos. I have a few Gumroad videos. You can check it out. They're mostly on girls, but that's a place where you see like an unfiltered demo, everything, like you're with them as they do it. You get these long periods of silence, which is a bad thing. When you watch a 2-hour demo, there's gonna be periods of not talking, especially if you're an artist. You're a quiet dude. your India art. You got things to say, but for the most part, sometimes it's autopilot. Right here, I'm going into the teeth. I'm like I said, it's gonna be. I'm trying to make it random, gross, like a kind of a T-Rex affected by maybe nuclear waste or something of that matter. You know, maybe mutant or maybe a dead one. But that's essentially what's going through my head. And I want two things interacting. I know that, but for the most part, I don't. On the left, I have no clue what that's gonna be. Looking into his lower jaw, and this isn't really correct T-Rex anatomy. I actually have a video on dinosaurs. This is not correct T-Rex anatomy at all. This is like a goofy, gross one. Going down the lower teeth. And this part, excuse me, this part's very repetitive. Very repetitive, at least for me. What I usually do is actually have like a podcast going or something like that, so I can, you know, some people like dead silence, but I'm more into that, you know, more into like hearing something else as I work. Thinking about the inside portion of the mouth. Obviously, I'm going over the tongue. What kind of tongue do I want to give this made-up animal, T-Rex, whatever? Do I want to give him a kind of traditional one? Do I give him like a lizard's tongue? Do I want to give him a, you know, maybe fork tongue? Fork tongues are more for lizards. I believe they smell the air with that tongue. When they send it out, they smell the air. They're tasting the air, and they kind of know what direction to go in based on that fork, you know. Going in here with a neck, and part of me might want it to be a serpent, but I know it just wouldn't look right as a serpent. So at least what I have so far, I think it would be cool, more like a big dumpy dinosaur kind of thing, big like goofy looking thing. I want him kind of breaking something. I don't know what it is yet. Excuse me, I have a cough. Thinking of the flexion within the fingers, and the same way I think of this is the same way I think of human fingers. Anything bending is gonna have a squishing kind of kind of be squishing the fat pads on it as well. And that squishiness is really going to make the kind of the gripping of something very convincing, or more convincing, or a little bit more convincing, you know. You want that squishy, that interactivity between two items. I'm trying here not to draw human arms, but they're kind of turning into human arms. Trying not to make the back there too uniform, but it will be a little bit more uniform. Some of the coolest back spikes on any kind of reptile, I think, would be Godzilla. You know, some renditions of him are very kind of fork-like. They're really crazy. I really dig those that type of design that they have in that. Mostly the Japanese version of it. There's some stray teeth on the top of his, almost by his nostril. I guess I'm thinking of like when I seen on gums, you know, sometimes people have like this stray tooth, like almost embedded in their gum. I was thinking about that. Going in the face more, I don't think he looks mean enough. So I'm trying to put a little more detail there in his eye. Going to snout. Putting a boulder line around him entirely. I want to kind of start. I usually start putting boulder lines in if it's not at the end. I usually start putting boulder lines in when I want to kind of create a dynamic somehow. Like I really want to create a dynamic. Like I'm already starting to kind of organize things. In other words, trying to pull him a little bit more forward. Going in more. I'm making this a wire. I was some type of wire. Like I haven't really worked out the story in my head. If this was an illustration for a client, I would have had to work out everything beforehand, like what's going on, what, why. I would go through thumbnails. Now I'm gonna go to the other side, and I want to get in. What exactly is that gonna be? Like, was this gonna be like just a strange little cubert thing? What is it? I'm thinking alien. Maybe something a little bit to juxtapose the kind of reality, or not reality, but kind of the angerness of that guy. Maybe something goofy looking. I'm seeing like a mouth. I never draw those things, but I'm seeing like a goofy mouth. Like I draw a mouth, but I never draw goofy stuff. Probably something I should try. It's always good to kind of widen your horizon on everything. Again, going back to his teeth every now and then, just to kind of clarify. A lot of it is clarify. That's on my mind more than anything else. It's just clarification of the picture. I'm always thinking of it as what is the viewer is probably going to be an untrained artist. I always think like that. Yeah, it's becoming goofier. I'm thinking of something with like eyeballs jutting out, uh, kind of connected by like a tube or, just not really sure what I'm thinking of. I'm actually thinking of like a small action figure I had when I was a kid. I used to have like erasers and things like that. It's almost like it's lazy design, but I'll be lazy with it. Going back through, this is what I mean by lazy design. Is I didn't even draw his legs on there. They're just wiggly goofiness kind of thrown around. Doesn't mean they're lazy in every time. I just mean in this particular case for me, instead of kind of thinking it through more, I'm just being lazy and just putting it there. He's got to look shocked though. I want him to look surprised and like he doesn't know what's going on. I definitely want the shock and surprise for sure. And I guess in doing so, like I'm not really thinking of anatomy. I'm not thinking of proper procedure, structure, any of that. I guess structure, but is such. I'm thinking of like again more like claymation. That would be the best way to describe it. Claymation was very structured, but it's not so much around anymore. I know there's some stop motion thing, but everything's very digital. But with claymation, when they all they had was clay and they moved that, there was sometimes when they have these expressions that were so horrifying and scary to me. It was just I don't know what it was. I was freaked out. Claymation would freak me out for a long time, but it would just change, because they have that in anime as well when They're shocked. They do an emotion. I guess they kind of kind of break composure, and they put a pose there that's completely left field, right? A completely like all totally off model on purpose, and they do that with claymation also. So a lot of any within any storyline whatsoever, I was thinking like maybe the T Rex or whatever that is grabbing and breaking a chunk of that guy's arm. Kind of continuing here, putting. There's all the necessary things as well. There's this definitely an autopilot mode. I go into autopilot when I do like shading and things of that sort. Shading especially is very autopilot for me, meaning there's not a whole lot of thought behind it. It's a lot of mechanical. It's almost like you're just letting yourself go. I feel like with design itself, that is the hard part. That is where you're really thinking, concentrating, and coming up with different ideas to make your design slightly different than the norm. Pushing through, just giving a little bit of a vague, like I said, vague light source. Like, would this leg be behind that? Going into the other leg. Kind of looks like Jar Jar Banks or something. Keeping it going there. I don't know what I did with the squiggly lines outside of that. That's crazy, I know. I don't know why I did that. Then you go into the mouth. This is all just technical 101. If a light wouldn't be hitting inside the mouth there, so that's what I'm kind of pushing, kind of making obvious. Wow. So this is what it is I have so far. I already have the majority of the framework, and I've actually compared it to this before. Think of this like a Polaroid image. You know those old Polaroids from way back in the day where you had to kind of wait for it to develop slowly? That's what's going on right now. I'm waiting for this to slowly develop. So it's slowly developing. Darkening things slowly, gradual. You want that gradual buildup, and that's something I repeat over and over. You want this slow, gradual buildup. Otherwise, you're going to be putting something in a wrong place, and you don't want to do that. Continuing to do that. Moving back in now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of that light I talked about. And what I want to do is I kind of want to make the form a little obvious through the shadow. I want the form of the object, of him, of his neck, I want it to be a little rougher if possible. If I could make that obvious through the shading itself, I would like that. Or at least hanging of some way. Going in there, pushing the darks, definitely always within the mouth, within the pit of the mouth. This is what I mean right here on this one. This isn't correct T-Rex anatomy. I'm just kind of monstering him up. Going into the upper, it's kind of, there's a section right here above the teeth, front of the eye, behind the snout, or kind of on the snout. That stuff can really only be indicated through like halftone many times, meaning this kind of middle value. You know, but a lot of this is showing off the form. You know, you're, I think it was, what was it, Michelangelo? I think Michelangelo would talk about when he would he would carve, these really awesome figures. He said that they're already in there. You know, that those they're already in there. He's just releasing them, and that's it. So sometimes I look at paper like that. You're just bringing forth what's there already. Hmm. Moving in here again, just kind of pushing into the teeth. Just pushing in. Because when I first put things there, I know I want teeth next to each other, but the smaller details would be, is one of those, is like a tooth or two broken, or is there, like an extra wedge in between the teeth? Does he have like some kind of plaque? Does he, what is wrong? Exactly. Also, think about the inside of the mouth, the back of the teeth. That is one of those, hard to get by options. Like some people just kind of play it off. Going in here for minor details within the kind of spikes. And this is also around the point where I feel very at home. I feel very comforted already that a lot of the major designing is over. So what you're doing is you're just going in and trying to boost what you already have. Back to the neck. That organicness is, I think, something that some people are really addicted to, as am I. These kind of folds. The reason people are so addicted to them, I feel, is because they are very easy to make up. Very, very easy to make up. Continue to kind of find that kind of division between the overall light and the dark, and that is kind of the overall kind of feeling. There's a primary, there's a secondary. I again, slow build up. It almost looks like a clock moving. You know, you can't tell it's moving kind of when you look right at it. We look at it like 5 minutes later, it's like, oh, it's different. Continuing that, trying to figure out where I want the focus to go to. Like, where do I want that focus to go to? Pulling this downward. Focus can be like usually focus is where the biggest contrast is, and like I said, there's really only two things here. Um, this isn't like focus within a larger area, but going into the actual whatever he's breaking there, his arm or leg, going into that and just kind of giving it a little bit of just a little bit of roundness, a little bit of I don't know, structure to it, just some shading. I mean, pushing like again, I'm highly thinking of like a human arm. Keeping going. All right. Again, trying to give that little slight push to the teeth. I knew the teeth would probably be the main thing, like main focus. I know it's kind of hard to not look at that shocked character over there on the left, but I would like the teeth to be, you know, like why would he be shocked? I think it also gives a little bit more attitude as I'm doing that. Cable, or I mean his leg. It's pretty obviously his leg. His chest area. Pushing the chest. And now I want to know, like, what, uh, so right here I'm making obviously I said everything's choices, but you're making choices right here. Do I make the chest area lighter, or do I make the chest area darker, having the hands pop out front? I think that making it darker Might give a little bit too much focus to hands, and then I'd have to like lower the contrast between those two. So I wouldn't do that. I'm just gonna be toying with this. Maybe make them about the same. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty close. Let me putting a few more details in. Like I said, it's pretty much the final image. Toward the end, I mean, there's so much just finishing. You know, so much just kind of toying with this, toying with this, toying with that, toying with this tiny shapes. So I don't think you need to. I mean, I'll show you that, but I will speed that up a little bit. Pretty much it. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys. Let me know if you like this format a little bit more or less. Do you want just sped up versions, or do you want like the real time, or maybe I might just mix it up, honestly. But thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you later.